The abduction. The evening was ordinary in the way that only small towns can be. The sun dipped low beyond the horizon, spilling streaks of crimson and gold across the wide Texas sky. Sarah Whitlock stirred a pot on the stove, the rich smell of stew filling the kitchen. Outside, through the open window, she could hear her children laughing. Daniel's voice sharp with the confidence of being 9, Lily's lighter giggle trailing after him as she tried to keep up. Sarah smiled. It was moments like these, quiet and simple, that made her feel whole. After her years as a combat medic overseas, she had promised herself one thing. No more war, no more blood. Just her kids, a quiet life, and peace. The peace shattered with a sound like tearing metal. The sky roared. Sarah froze, spoon in hand, as a deep hum rattled the windows. Outside, the laughter stopped. She rushed to the porch, heart slamming against her ribs. Above the fields, the clouds boiled away, revealing a shape too massive to comprehend. A ship, black and glistening, blotting out the stars. "No," Sarah whispered, instinct pulling her back to those nights in war zones where death came suddenly. A beam of light stabbed down from the craft, engulfing her children in its brilliance. Daniel screamed. Lily's small hands clawed the air as their bodies lifted from the ground, weightless. "Mom!" Daniel's voice tore through her. Sarah bolted across the yard, bare feet pounding the dirt. She leapt, arms outstretched, but the light was merciless. It pulled them higher, higher, their faces distorted in the glow, mouths open in terror. And then, with a pulse of sound that rattled her teeth, they were gone. The beam retracted. The ship lingered for a moment, almost as though mocking her, before vanishing into the upper atmosphere with impossible speed. Sarah felt her knees in the dirt, a raw scream ripping out of her throat. Her hands clawed the empty air where her children had been seconds before. Tears blurred her vision, hot and furious. But beneath the grief, something older stirred, something the war had carved into her bones. She forced herself to breathe, to think. Panicking wouldn't bring them back. She had seen death before, but this was theft. Her children were alive, and someone had stolen them. Sarah rose to her feet, trembling but steady. The stew still simmered on the stove. The laughter was gone, replaced by the drone of cicadas in the trees. She walked back inside, her face set like stone, and reached for the drawer under the counter. Her hands closed around the cold metal of her father's old revolver. She hadn't fired it in years, but the weight was familiar, grounding. "They took my kids," she whispered to the empty house. The words were a vow. Hours passed in a haze of frantic movement. Sarah pulled out maps, her laptop, and the notebooks she had kept since her time in the army. She scoured old classified files she had hacked into years ago, records of strange sightings the government never explained. If she'd learned anything in combat, it was this: the truth was never in what they told you, but in what they tried to hide. And they had hidden plenty. UFO sightings near military installations. Disappearances chalked up to domestic issues. Strange readings from satellites. A pattern emerged, faint but there. Orbiting stations hidden above the atmosphere, cloaked from normal detection. Sarah's jaw tightened. That's where her kids were. Far above, aboard the alien vessel, the abductors moved with calm efficiency. The Xeyth were tall, gray-skinned, with insect-like mandibles clicking as they spoke. To them, the children in containment pods were little more than subjects, raw material for their genetic experiments. One technician glanced at the readouts, noting the elevated heart rates and adrenaline spikes. Primitive creatures, he hissed. So fragile. The commander observed in silence, his eyes gleaming with contempt. They will serve their purpose. The female will forget them. Their kind always submits to loss. They were wrong. Back on Earth, Sarah loaded her revolver, then set it aside. She would need more than bullets. She called in favors from old contacts, men and women who owed her from the battlefield. Most were wary, some outright dismissed her claims. But one, an old pilot named Carter, believed. He'd seen things in the skies, too. "Sarah," Carter said through the crackling phone line, "if what you're saying is true, you're not going after bandits or cartels. You're going after something not human. I don't care if it's God himself, Sarah snapped, her voice cold as steel. They took my children. There was a pause. Then Carter sighed. Then you'll need everything I've got. That night, Sarah sat at the kitchen table, her revolver and a dismantled rifle laid out before her. Tools scattered across the wood. Her hands worked with methodical precision, reassembling, modifying, making do with what she had. Her eyes flicked once to the family photo on the wall. Daniel with his toothy grin, Lily with her lopsided braids. Her heart clenched, but she forced the pain into a blade, sharp and ready. Outside, the cicadas sang. Above them, beyond the clouds, an empire thought her weak, thought her broken. Sarah Whitlock wiped the oil from her hands, checked the chamber, and whispered to the night. You stole my children. I'm coming for you. The hunt begins. The world had gone back to sleep. Her neighbors wrote off the strange lights as another storm, and the sheriff chalked the missing children up to a custody dispute or a runaway case. No one believed her. No one wanted to. But Sarah didn't need their belief. She needed results. Her war had already begun. The barn behind her small farmhouse had once been her father's workshop, filled with broken tractors and rusting tools. By the second night after the abduction, Sarah had transformed it into an armory. The smell of oil and gunpowder hung heavy in the air. On the workbench lay scavenged tech from old crash sites, bits of alien alloys, strange circuits that hummed faintly even without power, and shards of glass that bent light unnaturally. She worked with the patience of a surgeon, splicing alien fragments into human machines. A hunting drone, once meant to map farmland, now carried a jury-rigged plasma cutter powered by alien batteries. A nail gun, modified and reinforced, became a makeshift rail weapon. Improvised explosives lined the shelves like canned preserves. She whispered to herself as she worked, voice low and steady. Adapt, improvise, survive. Those words had carried her through battlefields soaked in blood. They would carry her through this. Her first target lay hidden in the Rockies, a rumored crash site long abandoned by official agencies. Carter, her old pilot friend, met her at a dusty airstrip just before dawn. His weathered face was grim, his bomber jacket worn at the seams. You're serious about this, he said, watching her load gear into the back of his plane. Sarah gave him a look sharp enough to cut steel. They have Daniel and Lily. Serious doesn't cover it. Carter didn't argue. He simply handed her a headset and started the engines. The flight was silent, except for the drone of propellers and the crackle of the radio. Sarah stared out the window at the mountains rising like jagged teeth, her jaw set. She imagined her children on that ship, cold and alone. The thought stoked the fire in her chest until it burned hotter than fear. They landed in a clearing at dawn. The air was thin, sharp with pine. Sarah moved quickly, scanning with a modified drone overhead. It detected faint energy signatures, alien tech buried under stone. Bingo! The outpost was a hollow carved into the mountainside, hidden by cloaking fields. Without the drone's alien lens, it would have looked like nothing but rock. Sarah crept closer, rifle in hand, movements low and quiet. The first guard appeared suddenly, tall, armored, with insectoid features and a weapon pulsing with red light. Sarah froze, steadying her breath. The alien sniffed the air, mandibles twitching. Then it turned its back. That was its last mistake. Sarah surged forward, silent as shadow, and buried her combat knife deep under the ridge of its armor. The alien spasmed, screeched, and collapsed in the dirt. She dragged the body into the brush, wiped her blade, and whispered, "One down." She had killed before. She hated it, but this time was different. This time, it was necessary. Inside, the outpost hummed with activity. Strange machines pulsed with light, their purposes unknown. She moved like a phantom, planting explosives at key junctions. A pair of aliens passed her by, chattering in clicks and hisses. Sarah waited until they were gone, then tapped into their console. The screen flickered with alien glyphs, incomprehensible at first, but numbers, coordinates, and patterns were universal. She recognized orbital paths, saw the flicker of a massive vessel hidden in Earth's shadow. The mothership. Her children were there. Sarah's heart hammered, but she forced herself to focus. She copied everything she could into her jury-rigged tablet. Alarms blared suddenly as the console recognized her intrusion. The outpost came alive with shouts. Sarah detonated the first charge. The explosion ripped through the tunnels, sending rock and fire cascading. She sprinted through the chaos, firing bursts from her rail weapon. The rounds punched through armor, spraying alien ichor across the walls. One alien lunged at her, claws slashing. She jammed a pipe bomb into its chest cavity and shoved it back. The creature shrieked, then vanished in a burst of fire. Sarah didn't stop. She couldn't. She burst into the open air as the outpost collapsed behind her, flames licking the sky. Carter's plane waited on the ridge. He waved frantically, eyes wide as the ground shook from the chain of detonations. She dove inside, gasping, clutching the stolen tablet. "Jesus, Sarah," Carter muttered, pulling the plane into the air. "You're one woman. You just declared war." Sarah's eyes were cold, fierce, unbroken. They started it. Above, in orbit, the Xeyth commander reviewed the reports with disdain. An outpost destroyed. Soldiers dead. A breach in their systems. And all of it traced back to a single human female. "Impossible," one officer hissed. "No primitive could do this." The commander's mandibles clicked slowly, a sound of irritation and unease. "Do not underestimate her. But do not fear her either. She is only one." Still, for the first time in their long history of conquest, the Xeyth felt a flicker of something they had never known before from prey species. Doubt. Sarah sat in the dark of Carter's plane, staring at the stars as the world spun beneath them. On her lap lay the stolen coordinates, glowing faintly on the screen. She traced her finger over the path to the mothership. Her children were out there, and she was coming. The mother's wrath. The stolen shuttle shuddered as it left Earth's atmosphere. Sarah gripped the controls, her knuckles white, her heart pounding in rhythm with the thrumming engines. Carter had helped her infiltrate the crash site where the shuttle lay buried, but this part, boarding the mothership alone, was hers. She checked her weapons, the rail rifle strapped to her back, the revolver at her hip, the knife on her thigh. Explosives lined her pack, each carefully assembled with scavenged alien cores. Every ounce of preparation led to this moment. The mothership loomed ahead, a colossal fortress hanging in Earth's shadow, black against the stars. Its surface crawled with towers, glowing vents, and docking ports like the mouths of predators. Sarah narrowed her eyes. Somewhere inside, Daniel and Lily were waiting. She pushed the shuttle forward. The docking clamps caught with a hiss of pressurized air. The hatch opened. Sarah inhaled once, slow and deep, then moved. The corridors of the mothership stretched like the bowels of some monstrous creature, walls pulsing faintly with light, air thick with a metallic tang. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the hum of distant machinery. Sarah kept low, her steps silent. Her stolen wristband, ripped from a dead Xeyth officer, masked her from the ship's automated sensors, but not from living eyes. The first patrol came around the corner. 2 Xeyth warriors, armored and armed with plasma lances. Their insectoid eyes scanned the hall. Sarah slid into a shadowed alcove, waited until they passed, then moved behind them. Her knife flashed once, twice. The creatures collapsed without a sound. She dragged the bodies into the shadows, wiped her blade, and pressed on. Her plan was simple: sabotage first, rescue second. She found a maintenance bay filled with conduits. Pulling explosives from her pack, she planted them along the main coolant lines. If triggered, they'd overload the system and cripple the ship. As she worked, her mind drifted to her children. She pictured Lily clutching Daniel's hand, whispering to him in the dark. Her jaw clenched. "Hold on, babies," she whispered. "I'm coming." Hours blurred into one another as she stalked through the ship, setting charges, ambushing guards, mapping the alien labyrinth. The Xeyth were beginning to notice. Alarms occasionally blared in distant sections, and squads swept the corridors, but Sarah was always one step ahead. Her advantage wasn't superior strength or technology. It was adaptability, cunning, the willingness to fight dirty. The Xeyth fought in formation, predictable and rigid. Sarah was chaos incarnate. She lured one patrol into a maintenance shaft, sealed the doors, and filled the chamber with fire from a homemade incendiary. Their screams echoed through the vents. She cut power to a barracks and planted mines by the emergency exits. When the soldiers stumbled into the dark, confused, they walked into her trap. Every kill was brutal, calculated, efficient. With each victory, Sarah's resolve hardened. They had stolen her children. She would make them bleed for it. Finally, she reached the containment sector. Rows of pods stretched across a cavernous chamber, each glowing with pale light. Inside floated children, dozens, not just hers. Some human, some alien, all trapped in stasis. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. She sprinted down the row, eyes scanning desperately. Then she saw them. Daniel, his face slack but alive. Lily, her small body curled, a tear suspended on her cheek. "Mom!" The faintest whisper escaped Daniel's lips as the pod sensors reacted to her presence. Her hands trembled as she worked the controls, overriding the locks with her stolen wristband. The pods hissed, opened. Her children collapsed into her arms, weak but breathing. Sarah held them tight, tears streaking her face. "I've got you. I've got you, babies." Lily's voice was a ghost against her ear. "You came." Sarah kissed her forehead, then straightened. "And I'm not leaving without you." The reunion lasted seconds. A door slammed open. The commander entered. He was massive, his armor ornate, his mandibles clicking in rage. Flanked by guards, he stared at Sarah with contempt. "You," he hissed, voice echoing through the chamber. "One fragile female, daring to challenge us? You are nothing." Sarah rose slowly, pushing her children behind her. Her eyes burned with fire. "I'm a mother," she said, "and that makes me everything." The guards advanced. Sarah triggered her detonator. Explosions rippled through the ship. Alarm screamed. The commander staggered as the floor shook. Sarah seized the chaos, firing her rail rifle. The shot punched through a guard's chest. She grabbed her children's hands and ran, weaving through the chaos. The corridors became a war zone. Fires roared. Bulkheads collapsed. Xeyth soldiers scrambled to contain the damage, their perfect order unraveling under her onslaught. Sarah moved like a storm, cutting down anyone in her way. Her children clung to her, terrified but trusting. At last, they reached the escape bay. Pods lined the walls, sleek and unfamiliar. She shoved her kids inside one, sealing it behind her. "Mom, come with us," Daniel cried. "I will," she said, though her voice cracked. "But first, I have to finish this." She turned back, detonator in hand, as the commander's roar echoed down the corridor. Unleashed Havoc. The ship groaned like a wounded beast. Fires tore through the corridors, red emergency lights flashing across walls slick with smoke and alien blood. Sarah's detonations had crippled the mothership, but it wasn't enough. Not yet. Behind her, the escape pod sealed shut, her children inside. Daniel's fists pounded against the window, his mouth moving in desperate cries. Lily's small face was pressed to the glass, eyes wide with terror. Sarah forced herself to look away. If she faltered now, they would all die. She turned, rail rifle raised, as the commander stepped through the haze. He was monstrous, nearly twice her height, armor glowing with crimson veins of energy, mandibles dripping with fury. His guards had fallen in the chaos, leaving only him. His compound eyes fixed on her with a predator's certainty. "You are an infection," he snarled, voice reverberating through the ruined chamber. "A weak, primitive creature that refuses to know its place." Sarah tightened her grip on the rifle. "My place is wherever my kids are." The commander lunged. The impact rattled the deck. Sarah dove aside, the swing of his plasma blade slicing through steel where she had stood. She fired, the rail shot sparking against his armor. He staggered but did not fall. "Foolish," he hissed, charging again. Sarah rolled, dropped a grenade at her feet, and vaulted over a railing. The explosion engulfed the space in fire, sending the commander crashing back. She hit the floor hard, pain jolting through her shoulder, but forced herself up. Every breath burned. Every muscle screamed. But her fury kept her moving. The commander rose from the flames, armor scorched but intact. He bared his mandibles in a hideous grin. Is this the best your kind can offer? One desperate female with toys and fire. Sarah spat blood, eyes blazing. This desperate female just tore your ship apart. The battle raged through the corridors. Sarah led him deeper, weaving between bulkheads and collapsing pipes, forcing him into her traps. She detonated charges behind them, cutting off escape routes, funneling him where she wanted him. Still, he pursued relentlessly. His blade scorched walls, his strikes shaking the deck. Twice he nearly caught her, once tearing the strap from her pack, once grazing her arm with burning plasma. Pain flared white-hot, but she refused to stop. At last, they reached the command deck. The room was vast, filled with shattered consoles sparking from her sabotage. Stars stretched across the viewport, Earth glowing blue and fragile below. The ship trembled, systems failing, alarms shrieking. Sarah faced him there, between the dying ship and the fragile world she loved. The commander advanced, towering above her. You cannot win. Even if you kill me, more will come. Your species will be broken. Your children will not survive. Sarah's laugh was ragged, bitter. You don't get it, do you? You picked the wrong mother. She pulled her last weapon, her father's old revolver. The steel was dull, scratched, nothing compared to his alien armor. But it was steady in her hand. The commander sneered. That relic cannot harm me. Sarah squeezed the trigger. The shot rang out, echoing louder than any plasma blast. The round struck the commander's eye. He screamed, staggering, clawing at his ruined face. Sarah charged, slamming the rail rifle's bayonet into his throat. Tell your empire, she hissed, twisting the blade, that humans are not prey. With a final shove, she drove him backward into the failing core. Energy flared. His scream was swallowed by fire. The ship convulsed. Alarms howled. The reactor overloaded, tearing through decks with blinding light. Sarah sprinted to the escape pod, slamming the release. The hatch hissed open. Daniel grabbed her arm, tears streaming. Mom, hurry! She shoved them deeper inside, climbed in after, and hit the launch. The pod blasted away as the mothership tore itself apart. From the viewport, Sarah watched the colossal vessel fracture, explosions rippling across its length. Chunks of burning debris rained down into Earth's atmosphere, streaking the night like falling stars. Her children clung to her, sobbing into her arms. She held them close, rocking them gently despite the trembling of her own body. It's over, she whispered. I've got you. You're safe now. The pod slammed into Earth's soil hours later, parachutes deploying at the last moment. Rescue teams found them at dawn, the wreckage scattered across a field. Sarah emerged with Daniel and Lily, her body bruised, burned, and battered, but alive. Word spread quickly. A lone mother had infiltrated an alien warship, destroyed it, and returned with her children. Some called it impossible. Others called it a miracle. Sarah called it justice. Weeks later, Sarah sat on her porch again. The sky was calm, stars twinkling faintly. Daniel slept inside, his arm around Lily, both finally at peace. Carter leaned against the railing, shaking his head. You know they'll be back, don't you? The Xeyth won't forget this. Sarah sipped her coffee, her eyes sharp and unyielding. Good. Let them come. He chuckled softly. You're one hell of a woman, Whitlock. She glanced at the photo of her children through the window. I'm just a mom. Her gaze lifted to the stars. They had thought her weak. They had thought her broken. But now, somewhere across the galaxy, the story of a human mother who destroyed a mothership was spreading like wildfire. Sarah smiled, a predator's smile. They'll never make that mistake again.